I took in an innocent, broke college girl. I paid off her debts and helped her stay in school. But with a 7-year age gap, she was cold and distant toward me. That is until a boy her own age showed up. I watched with my own eyes as she became completely infatuated with him, losing sleep over him. The day we broke up, she looked immensely relieved and walked away without a backward glance. But I got into a car crash that same day. The news reported me dead. When we met again years later, she broke down, grabbing onto me. "Ethan, I knew you weren't dead." "I'm not," I said with a cold smile, "but I don't want you anymore." It had been 4 years since my death. I'm ashamed to admit it, but I came back to the States this time to get back something that was mine. My favorite gold watch from my previous life was up for auction, so I returned quietly. I sat in a corner in the back row of the auction house. My assistant, Leo, said, "Ethan, Mr. Harrison and your brother are here in the front row. It looks like they're here for that gold watch of yours." I smirked. "That's exactly why I'm here. That watch was a personal gift from my grandmother on my 20th birthday. It had nothing to do with the Harrison family. Jason was dead jealous at the time, throwing a fit and trying to take it from me. I still remember him screaming that day, 'I'm the real Harrison son. Why should Ethan get it? He's not even part of our family.' Everyone at the birthday party heard him. And just like that, the secret of my origins was out. When my parents first got married, doctors told them they couldn't have children, so they adopted me. But 7 years later, my mother miraculously became pregnant and had Jason. Publicly, they treated us both as their beloved sons, spoiling us equally. But behind closed doors, it wasn't the same at all. My grandmother was the only one in the family who truly loved me. After she passed away, I had no one left to protect me in that house. 4 years ago, Jason was diagnosed with depression. He pointed a finger in my face and said, "I don't want to see Ethan. The second I see him, it triggers my condition and I want to die." My parents looked at me guilty. "Ethan, we're out of options. Could you please leave the house for a while?" I was kicked out. To put Jason's mind at ease, my parents paid off the media to report that I had died in a car accident, and I stayed dead for 4 years. "It's strange," Leo muttered beside me. "The Harrisons are on the verge of bankruptcy. Where did they get the money for an auction?" A wealthy woman in the row ahead overheard and turned to speak to us. "You two must not be from around here, are you? Otherwise, you'd know about Jason Harrison's wealthy girlfriend." "What do you mean?" "See that beautiful woman walking toward us right now?" the lady said, full of envy. "That's Chloe Morton." Before I could react, I looked in the direction she was pointing. Just then, Chloe's gaze shifted in our direction. I immediately turned my head away. Thankfully, the back row was unlit. I was sitting in the shadows. There was no way she could see me clearly. It wasn't that I was afraid of her. I had just promised my parents I would take the money, leave, and never appear before Jason again as repayment for raising me. I didn't want to go back on my word. The woman enthusiastically filled us in. "Chloe is actually Chairman Morton's illegitimate daughter. I heard the Morton family wouldn't acknowledge her until she was 20. Then, after the chairman's eldest daughter died of leukemia and there were no other children, they rushed to bring Chloe home. She looks so poised, but the girl is only 24, 24, still so young." Under the cover of darkness, I studied Chloe. She had changed so much. When we first met, she was wearing a yellowed patch t-shirt and jeans with the knees worn through. Now she was stunning, her gorgeous hair cascading down to her slender waist, and she wore a pair of rimless glasses. She really had that cool, glamorous vibe down. Her assistant was speaking to her. I don't know what the assistant said, but she smiled and then casually pushed up her glasses with a fingertip. That gesture, that image, it was hard not to be reminded of the past. Years ago, during our most intimate moments, I used to ask Chloe to wear glasses. I had a thing for the studious type back then. After Chloe put them on, she would do just that, lightly pushing up the frame with her fingertips as I pulled her close. Who would have thought that the destitute girl who had been forced into my arms back then was now the one commanding the entire room? Leo asked the woman, "So, what's the deal between Miss Morton and Jason Harrison?" "What do you think?" the woman said coyly. "It's not official, but the rumor is they're about to get engaged." I remained perfectly calm, pretending I hadn't heard a thing. The auction began. The gold watch was presented. I couldn't show my face to bid, so Leo did it for me. Just when we were about to win, someone in the front row suddenly raised their paddle. 10 million. Chloe's voice was soft and melodic as she effortlessly snatched it away from me. I'm not short on cash, but I'm not as wealthy as Chloe is now. After a few rounds, Leo was ultimately outbid. The watch was Chloe's, but what would a woman want with a man's watch? The answer, of course, was to give it to a man. Leo was dejected. "Ethan, I'm sorry." "It's fine," I reassured him. "She's not really going to give it to Jason, is she?" Leo grumbled. "Giving your dead ex-boyfriend's belongings to your new boyfriend, that's classless." "Yes, classless," I said, staring at the back of Chloe's head. I really wanted to knock some sense into her. As if sensing my stare, Chloe suddenly turned around. She was probably trying to get a look at Leo, the man who had been bidding against her, but instead her eyes landed directly on me. Our gazes met across the shifting lights. Chloe froze, her expression one of utter shock. That one look must have scared the hell out of her, seeing a ghost of your ex-boyfriend right after buying his most prized possession. As we left, Leo and I couldn't stop laughing. Leo asked, "So, Ethan, how did you and Chloe even get together in the first place?" I coerced her. Leo was speechless, but I wasn't lying. I was no saint back then. When we first met, Chloe was 19 and I was 26. This was before Jason's depression, but our relationship was already strained. I was living on my own, only visiting the Harrison house occasionally. One day, I was out walking my dog when I ran into Chloe. She was sitting dejectedly on the curb. My first thought was, this girl is beautiful, exactly my type of beautiful. But next to her was a bottle of pesticide. I recognized it from the news, the kind people used to kill themselves. Looking at her clothes and her state of mind, I understood. She was a stray kitten pushed to the edge. Such a waste of a pretty face. The kitten still had some pride. When she saw me staring, she quickly hid the bottle behind her back. Maybe it was pity. Maybe it was just my wandering eye. I walked over and struck up a conversation. "See this dog? He's a show-grade champion. Cost me $100,000. Back then, Chloe had never heard of a dog being that expensive. She looked from me to the dog in astonishment. Finally, a look of defeat crossed her face, probably thinking her life was worth less than a dog's. So I made my next move. "I've got plenty of money, but I'm missing a girlfriend. Interested?" Chloe didn't say yes. I wasn't in a rush. I gave her my number, took the pesticide, and told her to call me when she'd thought it over. A week later, Chloe called. She showed up at my door covered in bruises. "Can you help me?" she asked, standing in the rain and looking at me with pleading eyes. I smiled. "Call me Ethan." She was silent for a long moment before finally meekly lowering her head. "Ethan." I found out later that her mother had just died. Her mother had been cruel to her, throwing bottles at her when she was drunk, calling her a worthless burden, a bastard child. As she got older, she began to realize her mother was right. She was illegitimate. Her mother had tried to use her to secure a position but failed, ending up with pitifully small child support payments. Her mother hated her, and the only inheritance she left was $1 million in debt. She couldn't pay it, and the loan sharks tracked her down at her college, forcing her to drop out. The bruises she had that day were from thugs the loan sharks had hired. It was a pathetic story. I couldn't help but see a bit of myself in her, unloved by our parents. She was a reflection of me, so I treated her well. I paid off her debt and found a way for her to go back to school. As for Chloe, I could never quite figure her out. She was obedient, always there when I called. She was also hardworking, using the money she earned from her part-time job to buy me a gift on Valentine's Day. When she was a little tipsy, she would hold me and pour out her heart, but most of the time she was quiet, which came across as cold. I just thought that was her personality until Jason showed up. Jason was like a ray of sunshine in her life. They had things in common, like the same anime, and could trade internet memes I didn't get. Most importantly, they were the same age. Chloe started smiling more, talking more. I noticed she was becoming restless, distracted. One day, Chloe begged me not to tell Jason about our relationship. Her words stung. Is being with me that shameful? Well, our relationship isn't exactly conventional. Not conventional? I was stunned. What do you think we've been for the past year? She bit her lip. You're my sponsor. I was speechless. You work a part-time job to buy your sponsor a gift. You go to a temple and hang your name and your sponsor's name on a wishing tree for couples. You get drunk and talk about growing old with your sponsor. And you're telling me I'm just your sponsor? She said nothing. I almost laughed out of sheer anger. I treated her like my girlfriend, gave her everything she wanted, and in the end she thought it was just about the money. No wonder she was so obedient, yet so cold and detached. For the first time, I lost my temper with her. Fine, I'm your sponsor, so you should act like the pet you are and know your place. You have no right to make demands. After that, I deliberately called Chloe over in front of Jason and acted affectionately with her. Chloe looked embarrassed but couldn't refuse. Later, when Jason got his depression, my parents asked me to disappear. The day I decided to leave, I broke up with Chloe. She asked why. I said I was bored of her. The light in her eyes faded, but she also looked relieved. She left without looking back. The next day, the news of my death in a car crash was released. Thinking about it now, my death must have been a blessing for her. She must have really liked Jason back then. It's been 4 or 5 years now. Such devotion. I smiled, letting it go. As Leo and I were heading to the parking garage, a voice suddenly called out from behind us. You. From that single word, I knew it was Chloe. I knew her voice too well. Sweet, passionate, pleading, tender. I'd heard it all. I didn't break my stride, I just walked faster. Chloe's footsteps scrambled as she rushed to block my path. Her voice trembled. Ethan Harrison, I knew you weren't dead. Her voice echoed through the underground garage. Leo shot me a look, telling me to run for it. But not only did I not run, I pulled off my mask and hat. A look of pure joy filled Chloe's eyes. Ethan, it's really you. Who are you looking for? I asked. Chloe froze. Ethan, don't joke with me. What did you just call me? Ethan Harrison. That's not my name. You have the wrong person. I took out my ID for her to see. My name is Brian White. Chloe's brow furrowed deeply. I went ahead and pulled out every piece of identification I had on me. Black text on a white background. All of them said, Brian White. I thought Chloe had seen enough, but she still wouldn't let me go. There can't be 2 people in the world who look this much alike. You have to be him. Ethan, I never saw a body back then, so I knew you had to be alive. Thank God I finally found you. I was losing my patience. I told you you're mistaken. Ma'am, if you don't back off, I'm calling the police. I finally managed to get away from her. As the car pulled away, Chloe was still standing there frozen. Leo said, Man, you actually got a whole new identity. You need to be more careful next time, too. Don't use my old name. Got it? The truth is, Leo didn't get it. I didn't change my name to hide from anyone. I just wanted to be free of the Harrisons and be my own person. I heard my birth mother's last name was White, so I became Brian White. I hoped my life could have a fresh start, that it wasn't too late for anything. I thought the auction would be a minor incident, but I didn't expect to see Chloe again the very next day. It was at a crowded bar that night. You could barely see anyone. I didn't notice Chloe at all. She had somehow squeezed in behind me. Ethan, I had to admit, her voice was incredibly soft in the noisy club. It was like a clear stream flowing right into my ear. "I'm not who you're looking for. Stop calling me that." "Yes, you are, miss. You've really got the wrong person." As I turned to speak, I saw that Chloe's eyes were welling up, filled with 1,000 unspoken emotions. "You are," she repeated firmly, then reached out and touched the back of my neck. "Ethan, you forgot to hide your birthmark. I have a small birthmark on the back of my neck. It's red and shaped like a crescent moon. My adoptive parents supposedly named me Ethan because of it, something about a flying moon. It was a fine name if it wasn't always being compared to Jason. The moon can only ever reflect the light of the sun. When Jason got older, he read somewhere that a blood moon was a bad omen. He started telling everyone that I was bad luck. Strangers would laugh it off. But my parents took it to heart. They told me to hide the birthmark, that it was an embarrassment. I never understood what was so embarrassing about a simple birthmark. In my memory, only one person ever said it was cool, a 19-year-old Chloe. She would kiss my little moon, making me believe she actually liked me. And now, 24-year-old Chloe's gaze was burning. It felt like it could burn the skin on my neck. I said, "What about it? Is your Ethan the only person in the world allowed to have a birthmark? Your face, the birthmark, they're identical. Ethan, how long are you going to avoid me?" I couldn't help but laugh. "I just simply don't want anything to do with you." After that, I ignored everything else Chloe said. I even exchanged numbers with a pretty girl who walked by. Chloe said, "Ethan, I've been looking for you everywhere these past few years. Can you just look at me? I'm taller now. Ethan, your ideal height was 5'7", and I'm there now. Ethan, I haven't been with anyone all these years. There's nothing between me and Jason. Please don't be mad at me anymore, okay?" I still ignored her. Just then, an attractive woman came over and asked if I wanted to go back to her place. I deliberately pretended to agree. Chloe completely lost it. "Don't go with her. You always cared about me the most, didn't you?" As she spoke, she grabbed my hand, pressed it against her chest, and started screaming that I was assaulting her. The entire bar went silent. All eyes were on us. I was completely stunned. "Ethan," she actually smiled at me, a soft, satisfied smile. "Now you can't go anywhere. You have to stay with me." 20 minutes later, I was forced to go to the police station with Chloe. I should have been free to go, but the bar owner thought I was some kind of creep and called the cops, so now Chloe and I were being questioned separately. While they were taking down my information, Chloe suddenly walked over. I knew what she was thinking. No one can hide their real identity at a police station. But I wasn't worried. I handed over my ID and the officer scanned it. "You've been living abroad?" "Yeah, just got back to the States and walked right into this mess. No parents. They passed away." The officer looked sympathetic and handed my ID back. "We checked the security footage. This had nothing to do with you. You're free to go, Mr. White." Chloe looked on in disbelief. "He hasn't had a name change?" "Nope. Nothing in the system." "How is that possible?" I chuckled to myself and walked out. It's not easy to make it as an immigrant. I worked my ass off to become a successful businessman. You think I couldn't handle something as simple as this? Leo was already waiting for me in the car. Just as I was closing the car door, Chloe's hand shot out to stop it. The door slammed against her arm. It must have hurt, but she acted as if she felt nothing. "Don't you want your gold watch back?" I paused. My grandmother's gold watch. That was my weak spot. But even a weak spot like that couldn't be used to control me. If it came down to it, I could live without it. So I smiled breezily. I forgot to congratulate you on winning the auction. You must have bid so high because it means something special to you, right? My performance was flawless. Chloe couldn't hide her disappointment. As she leaned against the car door, the bracelet on her wrist became visible. It was the one I had given her years ago as a symbol of our love. I remember because of that bracelet. I was once convinced that what Chloe and I had was real. That was 5 years ago, right after we got together. I bought a Tiffany bracelet to surprise her. Chloe was never home back then. On Valentine's Day, she didn't pick up my video call until evening. I was annoyed. Where have you been? I've been trying to reach you all day. I'll be back soon. That's when I noticed the dining tables behind her and a smudge of dirt on her face. I got suspicious. Where are you? Chloe avoided my gaze. Ethan, just wait for me at home. I'll be back soon. Chloe, answer me, where are you? Before she could finish, I saw a woman in a uniform walk past behind her. I was stunned. Are you at a fast food joint? Chloe sent me her location. By the time I got there, her shift was over and she was sitting alone on a bench outside. Her bag was stuffed with her dirty work clothes. I said, So, this is where you've been, leaving early and coming home late? Yeah. Is the money I give you not enough? I asked, too bluntly, and a flash of pain crossed Chloe's face. I wanted to earn some money on my own. There's no need. I'm pulling strings to get you back into school. Besides, you don't have to work in a place like this to earn money. I glanced at the rundown little diner. They pay daily here, Chloe said, her voice growing strained until she finally asked in a whisper, Are you ashamed of me? I didn't hear her. What did you say? Nothing. She quickly reverted to her usual cool demeanor, but before she took my hand, she wiped hers on her pants as if to clean off some imaginary dirt. When we got home, Chloe said, It's Valentine's Day. I used my wages to buy you a gift. What a coincidence. I bought you one, too. Should we exchange? We hid the gifts behind our backs and agreed to reveal them on the count of 3. On 3, 2 jewelry boxes appeared. The boxes were identical and so were the bracelets inside. Hers cost $50. Mine cost $5,000. I can't quite remember the look on Chloe's face then. I just remember she looked terrified and embarrassed and she apologized to me. She said, I'm sorry. I don't know anything about these brands. I didn't know it was a knockoff. I just thought it was beautiful. So, I worked there for a few days to buy it for you. She had bought it with her own hard-earned money. I was more than happy. It's fine. You can't even tell. Put it on me. The next day, a friend came over. Chloe was in the kitchen washing fruit. My friend had a sharp eye. Ethan, have things gotten that bad? You're wearing a fake bracelet. I saw Chloe's back stiffen in the kitchen. I laughed and said, I like it, so I'm wearing it. Man, aren't you afraid people will make fun of you? That night, I took the bracelet off before my shower and left it by the sink. When I came out, it was gone. It was in the trash. Chloe said, A fake is a fake. It's not good enough for you. Then I thought, I don't have a Valentine's gift. You will, she replied. She looked down, her expression unreadable, but her tone was incredibly earnest, almost like a vow. Ethan, I'll buy you a real one someday. I thought Chloe loved me. Later, something else happened. Chloe's uncle found her. He'd never cared about her or her mother before, but now that he heard she had a rich boyfriend, he wanted a piece of the action. Chloe refused. Her uncle immediately turned nasty, calling her a kept woman in the middle of the restaurant in front of everyone, just like your mother. Those words cut deep and Chloe slapped him. But he hadn't come alone. His wife was there with a few of her friends, and they dragged Chloe into an alley and beat her. Someone ripped the bracelet from her wrist, the one I had given her. Chloe went berserk, scrambling on the ground to get it back. Her aunt, thinking it must be valuable, tried to grab it, but Chloe wouldn't let her. She curled into a ball, clutching the bracelet to her chest, refusing to let go, no matter how hard they hit her. I saw all of this later on the security footage. When I found her that day, she was slumped in a deserted alley. Her hair was a mess. Her lip was split. She was a wreck. She was using one of the few clean spots on her t-shirt to carefully wipe the bracelet clean. Then she put it back on. I rushed over and held her. I told her not to be afraid, that I would protect her from now on. That day, Chloe held on to me for a long, long time. I thought she loved me. The memory ends there. Leo and I were already back at the hotel as usual. He gave me a rundown of the day's news before we turned in. Leo was halfway through when he suddenly stopped. "Ethan," his voice trembled a little. "We have a problem. You were photographed. It wasn't just me." Chloe was in the photos, too. More accurately, Chloe was the main subject of the photos. Her sudden appearance as the new heir to the Morton Group, combined with her stunning looks and figure, had always kept her in the spotlight. I often saw news about her even when I was overseas. The media had captured the scene of Chloe's outburst at the bar. Of course, I was in the shot, too. Someone in the comments asked, "Is that Chloe's new boyfriend? Did she and Jason Harrison break up?" Then people started digging into my background. Some resourceful person online found an old photo of me. Whoa, this is major. The guy in the photo looks exactly like Chloe's dead ex-boyfriend. Can you even tell them apart? Holy crap. I heard the ex was the current guy's brother, the one who died. Oh my God. This is some kind of twisted romance novel plot. So, she's with the brother because she misses the dead one. And now she's found a look-alike. I can't decide if that makes her incredibly loyal or a total player. Come on, people. Chloe and Jason never made it official. Whenever they were photographed together, there was zero chemistry. She always looked pissed. How was that ever a thing? I agree. I tried to get into them as a couple, but there was nothing there, just PR spin. I bailed on that ship early. The speculation was getting out of hand. I couldn't be bothered to read anymore. I tossed my phone aside and went to sleep. A few more days passed. Leo and I were out for a walk and passed by the new Morton Group shopping center. From a distance, we could see a group of people at the center of attention. Leo spotted them first. "Ethan, it's Chloe and Jason Harrison there at the grand opening ceremony." Jason wasn't standing next to Chloe. Several executives stood between them. From his position, it looked like Jason had just squeezed his way into the photo op. He was shifting his weight as if trying to show something off. I squinted to get a better look. He was showing off the gold watch on his wrist. Leo noticed it too. He let out a string of curses under his breath. I had already prepared myself for this, so I was much calmer than he was. "Forget it. Let's go. No need to look at that trash." Just as we were about to leave, a reporter asked a question. "Miss Morton, the $10 million watch you bought at the auction is now on Mr. Harrison's wrist. Does this mean we should be expecting some good news soon?" Chloe frowned and turned to look at Jason. In an instant, her eyes went red with fury. A furious red. "What is that you're wearing?" Her sudden question silenced the crowd. Even I stopped walking. "It's a watch. Who gave you the nerve to wear a fake to a Morton Group opening ceremony?" Her words caused an uproar. Jason was humiliated. "It's not a fake." He was still trying to lie. But Chloe, like a woman possessed, viciously ripped the watch off his wrist and smashed it on the ground. "You don't deserve to wear your brother's watch, not even a fake one. Jason, how many times have I warned you not to pull these pathetic stunts? You and your parents have been using your brother to blackmail me for years, forcing me to tolerate your behavior and prop up your family. Well, I'm done. Take your paid-for publicity and get out." The reporters were stunned. What's more exciting than a live meltdown? One reporter started it, and then with a click, the flashes went off like daylight. The other reporters snapped to attention, and the sound of shutters filled the air. Jason was completely humiliated. He always cared so much about his image, but he didn't dare challenge Chloe. He had nearly bankrupted the Harrison family over the past few years. They were only afloat because of Chloe's help. So he took his anger out on the reporters instead. He grabbed a pen from the table and threw it at a reporter, screaming, "What are you filming? Go film your own mother's funeral!" As luck would have it, the tip of the pen hit the reporter right in the eyelid. A scream of pain. That was it. Jason was in deep trouble. Knowing Jason's personality, this probably wasn't the first time he'd caused trouble. It's just that he always had his parents and Chloe to clean up his messes. The whole fiasco was front-page news by morning. The people crying the loudest were the ones who had shipped them as a couple. It was all fake. Jason had paid for all the PR himself. Worst of all, people realized what a despicable family they were, using a dead son to manipulate Chloe. So, the beautiful Chloe was in love with Ethan Harrison all along. But they could never have a happy ending. He's gone forever. Dude, why do you have to hurt me like that? The Harrisons are awful. I'm never eating at their restaurant chain again. I wonder if that reporter is okay. Not good. From what I heard, the reporter was taken to the hospital. Emergency surgery saved his eye, but the vision damage was permanent. To make matters worse, the reporter had just recently lost his mother. Jason's curse was particularly cruel. The reporter was determined to press charges for assault. Chloe wanted nothing more to do with him. Leo, my source for everything, found out that the Harrison parents went to Chloe, begging her to help save their son's reputation. She threw them out. Soon after, Chloe's new shopping center brought in a direct competitor to the Harrisons' restaurant chain. I knew she had turned on them so quickly because I was back. Now that she had found me, she no longer had to put up with their nonsense. However, my adoptive father, Mr. Harrison, had a trick up his sleeve. He released Jason's medical records for depression. It was a tearful statement. My son is a simple boy. He's sensitive and fragile. He was diagnosed with depression a long time ago. I'm sure he didn't mean to do it. Can't we all show a little more compassion and understanding for those suffering from depression? As soon as that statement was released, public opinion began to shift. I didn't really care what happened to Jason. All I knew was that this was my chance to visit my grandmother's grave. Previously, Mr. Harrison had people watching her grave, worried I might sneak back into the country. They were ordered to report to him if I ever showed up. Now he was too busy putting out fires to worry about me. I told my grandmother all about my life abroad. Half the day flew by. As I was getting ready to leave, someone approached. It was Chloe, holding a bouquet of flowers on the spot. "It really is you, Ethan." She was overcome with emotion. Chloe was also there to visit my grandmother. She knew how close my grandmother and I were, and she had been visiting her on my behalf every year. "Ethan, it's really you." There was a light in Chloe's eyes. "Why wouldn't you admit it was you before?" I said. "I didn't want to." "Is that reason enough for you? Are you still mad at me?" "Don't read too much into it," I said, looking at her coldly. "I was done with you a long time ago." Chloe said, "I can explain. When I met Jason, I thought he was someone else. Do you remember 10 years ago?" Before she could finish, a young woman suddenly appeared. "Ethan, Leo is busy, so I'm here to pick you up today." "All right," I said, looking at the young woman appreciatively. "That dress looks great on you." The girl blushed. "That's because you have good taste." Then she looked up at Chloe, as if just noticing her, and said in surprise, "Oh, cousin?" The color drained from Chloe's face. "Lily, what are you doing here?" "I'm learning about business management from Ethan," Lily said with an innocent smile. "Right, Ethan, I was already in the car. Stop wasting time with a stranger," I urged. "Let's go, I'm tired. You must be exhausted. I'll give you a leg rub tonight." She gave Chloe a triumphant look. Chloe blocked the driver's side door, preventing her from getting in. "What gives you the right?" There was a chilling, murderous look in her eyes. I had no doubt she could tear Lily to pieces, but Lily just kept smiling. "Because I'm 19. Lily was Chloe's cousin, her uncle's daughter. They had never met as children and were practically strangers. After Chairman Morton's eldest daughter passed away, it was rumored that Lily would be the next heir. But then Chairman Morton found his illegitimate daughter. Lily faded from the public eye. She was studying abroad, which is how we met. There was nothing really between us. We were just friends. I occasionally gave her some business advice. The age gap was too big for me to be interested. Lily was very good at playing the innocent card, and I found her little act amusing. But Chloe didn't give up. She somehow got my number and started sending me iMessages. She said she wanted to give me back my grandmother's gold watch. Of course, I wasn't going to refuse that. We arranged a time, and Chloe came to my hotel. She placed the watch in front of me, and I couldn't help but smile. "Ethan, what is it?" I was busy admiring the watch, but when I looked up, I saw her staring at me. "I haven't seen you smile like that in a long time," she said. "You have a beautiful smile, Ethan. You should do it more often." "Thanks for the watch," I said, my smile vanishing. Chloe pulled a small blue box from her pocket. "And this is for you." Inside was the Tiffany bracelet. She was keeping her promise. I pushed it back toward her. "I don't need it." Disappointment washed over Chloe's face. "Ethan, there's something I have to tell you. 10 years ago, do you remember—" Another voice called my name, interrupting her. Lily walked out of the bathroom wrapped in a towel, her hair dripping wet. "Where's my t-shirt?" "Leo went to get it from the laundry room. He'll be back in a minute." "Okay, well, I'll just wear one of your shirts then." She looked at Chloe and smiled. "Oh, hi, cousin, you're here. Want some fruit?" Her tone made it sound like she owned the place. First came the shock, then the despair. Chloe's eyes grew dull and lifeless, like a well that had suddenly run dry. After Chloe left, Lily dropped her act. "So, Ethan, what were you two talking about?" "Nothing. I heard my cousin mention something about you two knowing each other 10 years ago." I frowned. "I don't think so. I don't know what game she's playing. I wasn't curious about what Chloe had to say. Leo booked my flight out. I was scheduled to leave in 2 weeks, but I never expected my so-called parents would have the nerve to come find me. They used to at least pretend to care. Now the masks were off. Mr. Harrison pointed at me angrily. "Ethan, why did you come back? Are you trying to kill your brother?" I calmly sipped my coffee. "My name is Brian White." "Brian White? More like Brian the Bastard. You're nothing but an ungrateful snake we raised." "Me? Ungrateful?" I gave a faint smile. "You didn't seem to think so when you kicked me out, or when you abandoned me at the amusement park, or when I was burning up with a fever and no one even noticed enough to take me to a hospital." Mr. Harrison, a portly man used to fine dining, was so angry his jowls were shaking. "You did this on purpose. You ungrateful animal. You knew your brother had depression, and you came back just to hurt him." "Is that so?" I spoke very slowly. "Are you sure Jason actually has depression?" Mr. Harrison panicked, but he was an old fox. He was only flustered for a second before regaining his arrogant anger. "I know my own son is sick. Only a heartless person like you would question someone's depression." "You're the one who made him sick." I slowly pulled a piece of paper from a file, covering the top half with my hand. "A diagnosis report like this one." "Yes. That's it. How did you get that?" "This is my report from 4 years ago." I moved my hand, revealing the patient's name. Mr. Harrison froze. "Your precious son did get tested." I pulled out another sheet of paper. "His report is right here. Patient Jason Harrison. All results perfectly normal. He couldn't be healthier." The look on Mr. Harrison's face was almost comical. He must have suspected it all along. A man who had been in business for so many years couldn't have been fooled by such an obvious lie, but he chose to play dumb to believe it. Now he couldn't keep up the act. All his earlier bluster was gone. Ethan, maybe it was a misdiagnosis. Oh, so you're saying one of the best hospitals in the country just wasn't competent enough to diagnose him? If my son says he's sick, then he must be feeling unwell. What's the harm in him acting out a little? You're his older brother. You should indulge him. I was silent. There was nothing I could even say to that. After a long moment, I let out a resigned laugh. Tell me honestly, why did you adopt me? So that we could have a child of our own. Mr. Harrison was agitated and let the truth slip out. There's an old superstition that if a couple can't conceive, adopting a child will help them get pregnant with their own. So, they had never wanted me as a son. I was just a tool to bring Jason into the world. My whole life had been a ridiculous long dream. That night, I was in a foul mood and went out for a few drinks. I got a little drunk. As I was leaving the bar, I saw someone sitting on the curb. She had fair skin, and even her business suit couldn't hide her curves. When she saw me, Chloe stood up. Ethan. I was unsteady on my feet, and she rushed to support me. Why did you drink so much? Let's go to your place. Chloe froze for a second. I laughed. Don't get the wrong idea. You had something to say earlier that you didn't finish. I suddenly feel like hearing it now. The story about you and Jason from 10 years ago. She supported me as we walked slowly. It wasn't about Jason, Ethan. It was about you and me 10 years ago. I was very familiar with the place Chloe was living now. It was the apartment I had rented after moving out of the Harrisons' house. After I died, she bought it. The furniture, the layout, the decorations. Everything was exactly as I had left it. She even bought the same color roses for the vase on the table every week, always exactly 3 stems. She was so meticulous that even the way the roses were arranged had to be identical to how I used to do it. Chloe brought out a box from inside. It was full of letters. They were old and yellowed with age. When I saw the handwriting, I froze. You wrote these letters, didn't you? She lovingly smoothed the creases on the paper. Your Moonfall. Moonfall was a pen name I used to use, but I only used it for a short time. 10 years ago, by chance, I became pen pals with a girl who was still in middle school. She poured out all her troubles and pain in her letters. I was going through my own emotional neglect from my family at the time, so I empathized with her. Our relationship was completely innocent. We were just pen pals. I tried to encourage her and told her to focus on her studies, but I never told her my real name or my real age. I was afraid the age gap would make her uncomfortable. So when she asked my age, I lied and said I was about the same age as her. Eventually, we stopped writing. Later, Jason found out about the pen name. Moonfall. That's a cool name. I'm using it. He changed all his online usernames to Moonfall and told me I wasn't allowed to use it anymore. I had long since forgotten about it. If I hadn't seen these letters, I might never have remembered. Ethan, Jason's online name, was Moonfall, and he was my age, so I thought he was the one writing to me. I even asked him, and he admitted it. That surprised me. But on second thought, that was exactly Jason's style. The moment Chloe asked, he must have decided to steal my identity. After all, Chloe was beautiful and from a good family. Otherwise, Jason wouldn't have stuck around for so long. But that's no excuse, I challenged. You said I was just your sponsor. That's what everyone said. Everyone? Who? Chloe lowered her eyes. Her eyelashes were long and beautiful. So many people. My classmates, your driver, your friends. I was stunned for a moment. I used to have a circle of fair-weather friends, the kind you have for business reasons. They weren't real friends. I had introduced Chloe to them. To my face, they were polite. But behind my back, they mocked Chloe, calling her my pet. The staff at home whispered about it, too. Even though Chloe worked part-time and studied hard, in their eyes, she was just some low-class toy. The rumors even spread to her college, and she was ostracized in her dorm. But even then, she didn't leave me. As Chloe recounted all this, she was calm without a trace of resentment. She had grown up and made peace with the mockery. Ethan. Every time I wanted to argue with them, I couldn't because a part of me felt they were right. Chloe gave a bitter smile. When I was young, I was isolated and mocked because of my mother. When I grew up, I was isolated and mocked because of love. That was her life, I said. Then you must hate me for bringing all that pain into your life. Quite the opposite, Ethan. Chloe's voice was gentle. I was going to drop out of middle school, but your letters made me decide to keep studying. The day I turned 19, I was going to kill myself, but you reached out your hand to me and I survived. You saved me twice, pulling me out of the darkness and setting me on the right path. I wouldn't be here today without you. Ethan, no. Brian, I am so grateful to you, and I love you. I blinked. What exactly were we to each other? It was about money, but it was also about love. But with money in the picture, the love gets overlooked. When I first approached Chloe, it's true. I was just looking for a pet. But she became so much more than that to me. She was my companion when I was lonely. A warm embrace at night. She fulfilled my every fantasy. Even though she seemed so cold, she was always there for me. Every single time I needed her, Chloe herself desperately wanted to break free from the labels. But the gap between us was just too wide. Reality kept knocking her back down into the dirt. Even after she became Miss Morton, a powerful and respected woman, she could never forget that she had been pulled out of the mud. Chloe buried her face in my lap. The living room was quiet, except for her soft sobs. She wasn't crying out of sadness, but more out of a sense of release and acceptance. Being with you, Ethan, was the luckiest thing that ever happened to me. I still didn't get back together with Chloe. It wasn't because I was angry or wanted to make her suffer. At my age, my perspective on life has changed dramatically. A relationship would be nice, but it's not a priority. Compared to Chloe, my business ventures abroad were far more compelling. However, the matter with the Harrisons wasn't over. Someone leaked the fact that Jason's depression diagnosis was fake. The Harrisons suspected it was me, but it wasn't. I had thought about it, but out of some lingering gratitude for them raising me, I let it go. As they say, the only way to keep a secret is to not have one. Jason's reputation was completely destroyed. The same people who had defended him were now his harshest critics. At the same time, my true identity was revealed. Ethan Harrison wasn't dead. An insider revealed that my death had been faked just to appease Jason. The online backlash against the Harrisons was swift and brutal. No PR firm would touch them. No one was willing to risk their reputation on such a hopeless case. People started boycotting the Harrisons' restaurant chain. Mr. Harrison, furious and desperate, hired people to come after me. I was caught off guard. That night, a group of men cornered me in a dark alley. They knocked Leo unconscious. I was drugged, groggy, and unable to fight back. The thugs beat me mercilessly. Someone was taking pictures, shouting, "Kill him!" This was the Harrisons' revenge. They wanted me dead. My head was so heavy, I was about to pass out. And in that instant, one of the men was violently thrown to the ground. It was Chloe. She had arrived with a group of her own men. I saw Chloe pick up a steel rebar, and then everything went black. When I woke up, I was in an unfamiliar room. Chloe was sitting beside me. I immediately asked, "Where are we? Where's Leo?" "He's fine in the next room. This is a nearby hotel. I brought you both here." That's when I noticed Chloe was also covered in blood. Her white blouse was stained red. "Are you okay? You need to go to a hospital." "I'm fine, Ethan," she reassured me. "It's their blood. All of it is their blood." Chloe was unnervingly calm. I had a bad feeling. "What did you do to them?" "One of them is dead." I froze. Chloe gently patted my arm as if to soothe me. "I went too far. It has nothing to do with you, Ethan. I'll take full responsibility. Someone was dead. I was terrified, but I quickly calmed myself down. I reached out and touched her face. Get a lawyer. The best one. I'll testify for you. I'll tell them you were saving my life. Do it now. Right now. There's no need, Ethan. Her eyes were red as she squeezed my hand. It's all fake. None of it is real. After a long moment, tears began to stream down her face. She cried with such heartbreak. Ethan, this dream was beautiful, but it's time for me to wake up. Inmate number 19, Chloe Morton. The guard called out the name during roll call. Chloe looked over, her eyes vacant. Here, she said. She was only 24, but her voice was already weary. The guard remarked, She's lucid today. That's rare. A new guard asked, What's her story? Her? She's pretty, but she wasn't mentally stable when she came in. The medication makes her hallucinate. She's always calling out for her Ethan. Ha! Got a thing for her brother? No. The Ethan she talks about was her ex-boyfriend. You don't know? This is the girl who ran down and killed Jason Harrison 4 years ago. What? The case was huge all over the news. Surprising someone hasn't heard of it. The older guard clicked his tongue and explained. You know the Harrisons? That restaurant chain that used to be huge? The owner had 2 sons. The older one, Ethan, was adopted. The younger one, Jason, was their biological son. 4 years ago, Jason claimed to have depression and said he couldn't stand to be around his brother. So, guess what the Harrisons did? They spoiled Jason rotten, so they decided to kick Ethan out. They even planned to fake a car accident to fake his death just to make their precious biological son feel better. That's insane. What a messed up family, the new guard said. Tell me about it. But Jason found out about the plan. What? The new guard asked eagerly. Then what happened? Then somehow Jason, without telling anyone, switched places with the driver. He got behind the wheel himself and ran Ethan down for real. Killed him. The new guard sucked in a breath. He looked horrified. God, that's awful. The Harrisons pulled some strings and got Jason off. He literally murdered someone and walked away scot-free. It's disgusting. So, inmate 19. She was Ethan's girlfriend. Some said he was her sponsor. Who knows? When she found out the truth about Ethan's murder and realized the law wouldn't do anything, she took matters into her own hands, used the exact same method to run down and kill Jason. The old guard's voice was steady, calm as a setting sun. She turned herself in right after. That's when they found out who she was, the illegitimate daughter of the Morton Group. If you ask me, the girl's got principles. She could have used the Morton family's power to get away with it, but she didn't. Her actions brought down the whole Harrison empire. The restaurant chain went bankrupt, and within a few years, both Mr. and Mrs. Harrison had passed away. The new guard said, in her hallucinations, she must be seeing Ethan again, right? Seems so. The Morton Group hired a therapist for her who comes every month. The doctor says that in her hallucinations, she's trying to atone for her guilt and clear up old misunderstandings. What misunderstandings? How should I know? The 2 guards sat by the window as time stretched on, and another ordinary day came to a close. What were the misunderstandings? Perhaps the handwritten letters from their youth, the guilt of mistaking him for someone else, the cowardice of never having the courage to admit their relationship, the bracelet she never got to give him, and the words beaten down by reality that she never got to say, I love you. 10 years later, I came back to the States, stepping onto the soil that had once caused me so much pain. I felt surprisingly calm. I had just celebrated my 37th birthday when I received a call from an unknown number back home. They asked if I could come pick someone up. The person on the other end of the line said a name I hadn't heard in a very, very long time. Even after all this time, hearing her name still made me pause. I returned to the States and went to the women's prison. Waiting for me were not just the guards, but also a psychiatrist. They showed me Chloe's psychiatric reports from over the years. More accurately, they were records of every one of her hallucinations. She wanted me to be alive. She wanted me to be successful. She wanted me to be angry with her, but also to give her a chance to explain. She wanted to finally tell me how she truly felt. In her fantasy, I eventually touched her face. After reading through the lengthy records, I was silent for a long time, and I touched my own face. Yes, I wasn't dead, but I looked completely different. Jason had come so close to killing me that day. I survived, but I fled the country for medical treatment, too afraid to contact anyone back home. The accident disfigured me, and the doctors had to perform extensive reconstructive surgery. I changed my name, and no one knew I was Ethan Harrison anymore. I built a new life for myself abroad, a happy and fulfilling one. I'm still single because I don't need a partner. I love my work, and just as she had wished in her dreams, I became a successful entrepreneur. And now Chloe's sentence was up. She was being released. The doctor said her condition had improved significantly, and she's been an exemplary inmate. I contacted her family, but they refused to come. She's an orphan. I suppose you're the only person she has left who could be considered family. I asked, what about Lily? As far as I know, there's no such person. There isn't. The doctor confirmed. We believe she was a figment of the patient's imagination, a subconscious creation of another 19-year-old girl to punish and remind herself of her past. I mulled over the report for a long time. Finally, I nodded. All right, I'll take her. The doctor was relieved. You're really willing to? Yes. The past was in the past. I had moved on long ago, nearing 40. What was there left to hold a grudge over? Thinking this, I gave a self-deprecating smile. I'm getting old, starting to think about everything in terms of costs and benefits. That's not a good way to be. I signed the papers and then went to visit my grandmother's grave. I told the guards I would be back in the afternoon to pick her up. By the time I got back, I was already late. Spring in New York is always a grand, bustling affair. The scent of blossoms washed over me in waves, seeping into my very being. There at the prison gates, Chloe was sitting on the curb. A flower petal drifted down and landed on her shoulder. She was no longer a young girl, and yet she was still the same girl. I watched her for a long time, then held out my hand. I'm here to pick you up, just like all those years ago.